Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to, I'm back at the place. I'm not catering somewhere talking to y'all with a sunset or pelicans flying in the background. We're back home doing Here Every Hearts at our place. We are now doing it the fourth Tuesday instead of second and fourth. We're doing it the fourth Tuesday, especially during the summertime with people traveling and as much as I travel just to kind of give us a break. So this week, last time we talked about my mom passing away, and it was a celebration. And, when someone goes on to be with the Lord, it's easy to understand that it could be a celebration, especially with mom, because mom had had a very full life. Well, this past week, little 3-year-old Xander Liata, hey Chris Dufour, man, we're gonna fish one day, I promise you. But there was a tragedy in their life, and really, I know the family. I know the grandma. Her husband's a very good personal friend of mine. I know a lot of the family. And quite simply what happened was one of those things that all of us have been spared by just a millisecond, okay, where something could happen. Lady pulls in with the kids in the car. Little Xander takes off to play on the gym, the little jungle gym. The other lady loads up her little 7-year-old's leaving. Where's Xander? He's on the jungle gym. Well, little Xander wanted to surprise him and snuck up, I think, behind the car. And the rest of the story is he's now home with the Lord. Now, there's been people that said, oh, this happened, that happened. They've mentioned all kind of things like there was a fault, like somebody done something wrong. I got news for you. Our law enforcement, our chief parish law enforcement, anytime something like this, it's investigated thoroughly. And it was just a very nasty thing that happened. Yet, we all tend to, sometimes in the spirit of even Christianity, we tend to put gossip in there. And the power of the tongue is something that can totally destroy. And when I tell you destroy, if you don't think these people were destroyed, we opened our house over here yesterday and let them come in. I went to the wake and looking at all those little cars, little toys that he played with, little tools that he played with. Went in the back and there's his favorite little peanut butter and marshmallow cream sandwiches, which were absolutely amazing. But I mean, it's in 3 years. That was his legacy. That was his memories. And for people to even pick up on anything, but to love on the people that would this happen to. With mom, we knew it was coming. I celebrated her going home because her time here was done. But God said Xander's time here was done. But what about those left behind? What about in a couple of weeks with Tammy and Ike and Tina and Ralph and all the people that, in the family? What about them? What is their new normal? What can we do to just love on them? I know from spending time with a few friends when they had lost loved ones, there's nothing, not one word that we can say sometimes, but our presence. And I went to the funeral home with one intent, and it was really not to speak. It was strictly to go in there and just a few hugs. I just figured that's all it was. And Ralph and I kind of did our wild time together. He had a few stories that we shared, and not in great detail, but we shared some, and it lightened the heart a little bit. It was okay. We had a few laughs, but it was just a fleeting moment, and it was nice to share that. But when they came over here the next day, before they even walked in here, I was outside talking to the family and the dad. And when I tell you this totally destroyed, I don't know of any other word to tell you that other than totally destroyed. My dear friend John Tomplay, I spent at least the next 6 hours after he found out that his son John had gotten a wreck and was killed on his way to school. And y'all have heard me say this before. I think in 6 hours, the only the word spoken was going to get you a drink of water. I watched his anguish, his crying, a sob that only comes from experiencing death of a loved one. And it's just from the heart, from the depths of your soul and the anguish that you feel. So what can we do? Well, I submit to y'all that first thing, hey, Deborah Lambert, we miss you, love you too. First thing I submit to y'all is we care about Tom. If I'm stepping on some toes right now and you were talking about anything happening but just a pure, unequivocal accident, you need to just go before the Lord and ask forgiveness. Because, and let me tell you something, there are times that these things happen where someone may have been in the wrong. And I promise you their heart and what God will work on and the things that they go through and the self-guilt and the attack that they're going to feel, we still need to love on them. Because I guarantee you every one of us has been in a situation where our kids could have easily been taken away. Both of our boys were coded. Wes and Matthew both coded out. God decided not to take them. But had he taken them, oh my God, had he taken Matthew, Colette would have been utterly destroyed. It's still till today, she can't understand how he snuck out of a house and got into the pool. All right? I mean, Colette saw Abigail picking up the steps, so she went back to cooking dinner. But the cat ran by Abigail. She dropped the steps. They fell to the ground. Somehow or another, Matthew got out the house. When Matthew got out the house, he went to the pool. He got in the pool. Well, we don't know how long, but he was blue when he came out. But as God would have it, my oldest daughter, Tessa, was pulling in, the nurse practitioner, and it took a few minutes, but she revived him. It wasn't his time. But guess what? Had it been his time, it was no one's fault because it was a happenstance. We could have said, why didn't you look behind the car? We don't ever look always behind a car. We don't look all the time at what we do. We live life, not haphazardly, but we live life. And other than by the grace of God sometimes is what keeps us from tragedy. God has, in the last few years spoken to me times where I guess about 6 or 8 weeks ago I was going down the road and I just had a weird feeling. All right, so I just slowed down coming up to an intersection, and I mean, this pickup truck was coming, never hit his brakes, never did anything. I mean, Matthew was on the passenger side, I was on the driver's side. I don't think either one of us would have made it because he went through that intersection at 50, 60 miles an hour. Now, by the grace of God, I was spared. Matthew was spared. The other day, I'm building a little addition, just a storage shed, and I needed a plumb bob. And my spirit said, don't you remember I showed you the plumb bob about 6 weeks ago? And I'm walking through the shed, hadn't used this thing in 6 or 7 years, and I guess in the spirit, God pointed out the plumb bob. Now, I don't remember too much about that other than when I needed it. All of a sudden, I remembered he pointed it out. The point that I'm trying to make is, I don't do it well, but I do it better than I used to, is try to listen and submit and spend time in God's Word, spend time around godly people. But in a lost world, I probably spend more time around people who really need to know that there is someone who loves them in spite of who we are, in spite of our mistakes, in spite of the ones we're gonna make. Because guess what? We're not finished making them. As Christians, we're not finished making them. Christ is not coming back on the cross and redo everything he did for us to have the peace and joy of his love, his grace, and his acceptance and freedom from sin when we stumble and fall, because it was a one-time done deal. Satan would have you believe that, hey, you are worthless, you're useless. Hey, Pat St. Pierre, all of this, he's going to make you try to buy it, and guess what? We're one thought away from buying into a lie from the devil, from the pits of hell. You're worthless, you're useless. You should have done this, you should have done that. That baby should be dead because of you. I got news for you. Before the beginning of time, Xander's timeline was destined to end on the day that he died. Amen. And that's it. No matter what we want to say, think, or do, we're putting on shoes way bigger than we can feel because God's shoes is his. We all keep this list, man. Wait till I see God. Hey, Bob Landry. When I get to see God, guess what? I got this list of questions. I got news for you. Hopefully when you see God, you're going to be going to spend eternity with him because of accepting his son. But I promise you all those questions are going to disappear because those questions are just way bigger than us. I wanted to play this little thing that we saw where Morgan Freeman is an actor. And it's to the point where he's playing God and this little girl's husband is building the ark. And, quite simply, he asked her, so she said, well, he heard from God, and God told him to build the ark. And he asked us, well, if you pray for patience, does God give you patience? Or does he give you the ability to have a little more kindness? If you pray for a family to be restored, does he give you a warm, fuzzy feeling? Or does he give you the opportunity to reach out and love your family?
Amen.
All of it came to an opportunity. So, with Xander's passing, with the family and with the friends, is that a thing we need to judge them from what happened? Which has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that it just happened. It was one of life's very crappy things. I mean, we're grown-ups here, and if you're not, it still is. But what is it? Is it something we can look and say, oh my God, look? Or is this an opportunity? Is it an opportunity for us to share love? Is it an opportunity maybe to see what happened and say, you know what? I'm going to love my family even more, because I don't know what day God chooses for them to go home. What they say, don't let the sun go down on your anger. I'm sure God's been working on me. That Matthew's been in Pastor Mark's anger sermon now for, I don't know how long, Colette? A year. I mean, little boy, something. I'll share a cute one with you. Matthew, 21, autistic. Well, I'm up front in the front of the house, and he is squealing, happy feet squealing. I hear him in the back, so I go in the back, and he's got all his clothes on. He's gotten in the shower. He's got the water on. He is just having him a party because he loves the shower. He is squealing, hands are going, partying. And I'm like, whoa. I said, look at this. And I couldn't fuss him because, hey, that was a pretty good deal. He didn't put hot water on or just cold water on. He actually had warm water. So he did real good. He had most of it in the tub, which is about good as I do too. So I like to end on a light note, especially like we witnessed this past week. If we can minister to anybody, hey, Michael Lobel, what's up? Hope you enjoyed your vacation. I enjoyed the pictures. If we can do anything in life that matters, sometimes when it matters most is when we feel like what we say is really going to say the least. By that I mean the hug, the love, not listening to anything. I get the opportunity in what I do that it's very easy. We just messed up on a wedding. Now I could easily say there were some things that we did that, was not our fault. But at the end of the day, we still could have made some corrections that would have avoided an embarrassing situation. I talked to the father today, and he had the grace to forgive me. Thank you for that. Now, did I make it? I hope I made it up to him, and we'll continue to try to do so. What God has shown me, judgment is never mine. What God has also shown me is what pops up in my mind, if I let it go to my tongue without filtering it through the power and presence of the Holy Spirit, I am just, what's the Forrest Gump thing, K-Fix stupid? I guarantee that's a K-Fix stupid moment. Okay? When I say CFS around here, people know what I'm talking about, because sometimes we tend to speak. I'll share a little wisdom God gave me. I have some friends that we call an iron vault relationship. When I need to, I can call them up. I did this the past week. Shared some stuff that I'm going through that I needed some prayer on, with just some relationship issues with some friends of mine. And so, shared with him. He gave me some wisdom. And a little while after that wisdom, it really worked out. I'll give this to you. When someone shares with you, or someone you consider a friend, family member, loved one, or spouse, I'll challenge you this. No amen corner from my wife, because she'll be on me for this. Do not respond for 24 hours. Take it to the next day, and see what your response would be. When friends of mine that I really respect and trust have done that, and I've waited to 24 hours, not one time was a response I had 24 hours later what I was going to respond to in that moment, because it had been pride and hurt and flesh that I responded to. Unfortunately, when you have a wife and a better half that's put up with way more than she deserves to be married to me, when I flash, I'll take out all my frustrations from a another one of them kind of days that I just mentioned on her. And I'll flash in anger, and that actually accomplishes nothing but destroying someone who I deeply love. So at the end of the day, we only have the moment that we have. But sometimes staying nonverbal in that moment is the smartest thing you can do. My second cousin, Crawford Bishop, told me something one time. He says, you know something, Kevin? He says, I just had a little thing right when I first started business. I got behind on my sales taxes, and they posted a notice in the paper. And I paid them, so I was like, why are you putting that in the paper? I'm going to call them up, hey, Brother AD, thanks for covering for me today. I'm going to call them and tell them that's an error, because it's paid up, you shouldn't have put it in the paper. So I go over to the paper, Crawford owns the Gonzales Weekly, and he calls me in his office and says, they told me you want to put a little article if they printed something wrong. I said, yes, sir, it's not right. He said, let me tell you something. Whether you right or whether you wrong, every time you stir it, you know what I'm talking about, it still stinks, all right? He gave me one thing. He said, let it rest. He said, the best thing to do sometimes is nothing. The best thing to say, in a lot of cases, is nothing. How much easier it is to say nothing and have to eat your thoughts than it is to say a whole bunch you will get later that you can never eat. So I'm going to leave that with you. I don't know if it has any bearing, but after watching these people walk through what they walked through and just absolute devastation, and I mean hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people came, and people were praying. And a lot of people prayed for Xander to not go home to the Lord, but that wasn't the case. Xander's timeline was right where God had it. So I love y'all. Hopefully this makes some sense. And anything that doesn't make sense, I ask my prayer that it be stricken from your memory. The other side of it is, if you need anything, chefkitty.com, you can link up there. It's got my cell phone. It's 205-2665, 205-COOK. We'd be glad to reach out to you. We got some great information. We have some really neat things that we can share with you. One of the books that we have is called Don't Sing Songs to a Heavy Heart. There are things that come natural to us to say, like, oh, don't worry about them, they're in a better place. Guys, that's just not what people need to hear, because they're in the place God put them. There's no doubt Xander's in heaven with God right now, but they don't need to hear that, because it's not about who's not here. It's about who's left behind. It's about the people that don't have Xander. Who's going to remember the birthday? He'll remember their going home date. Not today, but forever. Their life has changed forever. So I submit to you, love on them, love on your friends, and always remember that where two or more are gathered, he's mightily present. Love y'all. We'll see you in 4 weeks. And appreciate it, Mark Chittister. Appreciate it a bunch. Good night. Love y'all.